The lawyer's office smelled like old books and quiet grief. A single piece of paper sat on the polished mahogany. It felt like a verdict. It lay there, between my sister Jenna and me. An amendment, a codicil to my mother's will. Dated just 3 weeks before she died. Jenna didn't even need to read it. She already knew every word. She just looked at me. Her eyes welled up right on command. A single perfect tear traced a path down her cheek. It never even smudged her makeup. "Oh, Mark," she sniffled, clutching my arm. Her grip was surprisingly tight. "I think Mom knew I needed the stability. My career is so up and down." She dabbed her eye with a tissue. She was just looking out for me. Her words hung in the stale air, each one a perfectly crafted lie. My mother preached fairness like a religion, 50-50, always. The idea of her changing everything, in her final, pain-filled weeks, it was impossible. But the paper was right there. Mr. Henderson, the lawyer, wouldn't meet my eyes. He just stared at the wall behind me. Jenna thought her performance had sealed it. The grieving daughter, the chosen one. She squeezed my arm again, a gesture of fake comfort. She thought she had won everything. She was wrong. She had no idea what was really going through my mind. Not grief, not sadness, just a cold, sharp-edged certainty. She had made a mistake, a tiny one, a microscopic flaw in her perfect, greedy plan, and I was going to use it to burn her entire world to the ground. To understand that fire, you have to see the life before it. The 5 years I spent watching my mother, Mary, slowly fade away. I lived just 10 minutes from her house, our hometown of Oak Haven, a place of quiet streets and long memories. I was the one who got the late-night calls, the one who held the plastic basin during chemo. I learned the names of all her nurses. I knew which food she could keep down. We'd sit in her sunroom for hours. Sometimes we'd talk. Mostly, we'd just sit in a comfortable quiet. Her just being there was enough. Jenna's presence was an event. She lived in Los Angeles, a different world, a world of sunshine and hashtags. She was a brand consultant. It sounded important and vague. It mostly involved pictures of fancy coffee and sunsets. She would fly in twice a year, Christmas, and 1 week in July. She'd sweep into the house like a hurricane, a storm of drama and expensive perfume, full of stories about rooftop parties, name-dropping minor celebrities I'd never heard of. She'd hug Mom, take a few selfies for her Instagram story, then spend half the visit on her phone. Networking, she'd call it, tapping away on the screen while Mom tried to ask about her life. Mom never saw it that way. Or maybe she chose not to. She just saw her daughter. "She has such an exciting life, Mark," Mom would say after Jenna left. Her voice would be full of a tired pride, but I could see the quiet loneliness in her eyes, the unspoken wish for one more day, just one real conversation. Fairness was Mom's religion. The will was her most sacred text. Everything split 50-50, she'd told us 100 times. We'd be in the kitchen. She'd be stirring a pot of soup. "When I'm gone," she'd say, "I don't want any fighting." She'd point the spoon at both of us. The house, the savings, right down the middle. "You're both my kids. You both get half." It was simple. It was her. There was no ambiguity. The last time Jenna visited before the end was in September. Mom was weak then. So weak. Mostly confined to her bed. Jenna arrived with a designer bag and a practiced, sorrowful look on her face. She seemed different this time, quieter, more focused. I thought maybe Mom's condition had finally sunk in. I was a fool. One afternoon, I came into the living room. Jenna was on the floor. She was surrounded by Mom's old keepsake boxes, the ones filled with everything she ever saved. Old letters from Dad, every birthday card we ever gave her, canceled checks from the 80s. Jenna was holding one of Mom's old passports, carefully studying the signature page. "What are you doing?" I asked. She jumped, startled. She quickly pushed a handful of documents back into a box. "Oh, just, feeling nostalgic." She gave me a bright, hollow smile. "Look at Mom's handwriting. It was so beautiful, wasn't it?" She held up an old thank you note. I just nodded. It seemed harmless, a daughter cherishing memories before they were all gone. That was the first red flag. I saw it, and I told myself it was just grief. A few days later, she started insisting on private time with Mom. "She's getting so tired, Mark," Jenna would say. She'd put a hand on my arm. Her voice was full of manufactured concern. "All the visitors are a lot for her. Let me just sit with her for a bit. Just us girls." It felt possessive, but I was running on fumes. I thought I was doing the right thing, giving them a final moment. I'd go for a long walk, or run errands I didn't need to run. I'd come back to find the bedroom door closed, just a soft murmur of voices from inside. I never questioned it. That was the second sign, a closed door in a house that was always open. Then came the questions about money, out of nowhere. We were in the kitchen one night. I was making soup, the only thing Mom could eat. Jenna was leaning against the counter, scrolling on her phone. "So, Mr. Henderson," she said, not looking up. "He handles all of Mom's finances, right?" "Everything," I said. "He's handled the family's affairs for 40 years. "And the house, the title is clean? No liens or anything?" It was such a strange, technical question. Jenna had never cared about things like that. "Of course it is. Dad paid it off decades ago." She just hummed in response. "Good. That's good to know." She went right back to her phone. It felt clinical, like she was ticking items off a checklist. But I was exhausted, drained from months of watching my mother die. I dismissed it as my sister finally trying to be an adult. The third sign, clear as day. I walked right past it. Jenna left a week before Mom passed away. She cried at the airport, big theatrical sobs. She promised she'd be on the next flight if things got worse. They did. I was the one holding Mom's hand when she took her last breath. Jenna arrived 2 days later for the funeral. Perfectly dressed in expensive black, she delivered a flawless eulogy, full of touching anecdotes that never happened, all about her and Mom's unbreakable bond. It made my stomach turn. I just wanted it all to be over. The grief was a physical weight, a stone in my chest. I thought the worst was behind me. I thought all that was left was to honor my mother's final wish. That simple, fair 50-50 split. I had no idea the real battle was just about to begin. A week later, we were in Mr. Henderson's office. It smelled like old books and lemon polish, just like it did when Dad was alive. The mahogany desk was a vast, dark ocean between us. Jenna sat beside me. She was fidgeting with the strap of her purse. I just felt numb, ready for this final piece of business to be done. Mr. Henderson cleared his throat. He wore a sad, tired expression. "Mark, Jenna," he started. "Your mother was a wonderful woman, a client for nearly 40 years. He slid a thick document across the desk. It was the will, the one I knew by heart. As you know, Mary's long-standing wish was simple. I felt a small, sad smile touch my lips. Simple, fair, 50-50. However, he paused. He looked down at his hands. That one word hung in the air. It felt heavy, dangerous. There was a recent change. My blood went cold. I looked at Jenna. Her face was a perfect mask of neutral concern. She didn't look surprised, not at all. Mr. Henderson slid a second, much smaller document forward. Just a few pages, stapled together. Your mother executed a codicil 3 weeks before she passed. 3 weeks. My mind flashed back. Mom was barely conscious then, floating on a sea of painkillers. She could hardly hold a glass of water. And she supposedly changed her will? It made no sense. "What does it say?" I asked. My voice sounded distant, like it was coming from someone else. Mr. Henderson put on his reading glasses. He looked pained to be reading it. "The codicil amends the original will as follows." He took a breath. "The family home at 214 Oak Street and all its contents are bequeathed solely to my daughter, Jenna Thompson." The room tilted. I gripped the arms of my chair. Solely to Jenna? No, Mom would never do that. Never. The house was our childhood. It belonged to both of us. He wasn't finished. Furthermore, all liquid assets, including savings, checking, and investment accounts, are to be divided. 75% to Jenna Thompson, 25% to Mark Thompson. It was a mistake. It had to be. I looked at Jenna, waiting for her to be as shocked as I was, but she wasn't. Instead, a single, perfect tear rolled down her cheek. She reached over and clutched my arm. Her grip was surprisingly strong. "Oh, Mark," she sniffled. Her voice was a practiced whisper. "I'm so sorry. I had no idea." A lie, a complete and total lie. Her voice dropped, full of fake humility. I think Mom knew I needed the stability. You've always been so steady. My career is just so up and down." She squeezed my arm. She was just looking out for me, her baby girl. And that's when the red flags started screaming in my mind. Her words were a smokescreen, but I could see right through them. The questions about the house. Is the title clean? She wasn't being responsible. She was assessing her prize, making sure her inheritance was secure. The private time, those closed doors, the hushed whispers. It wasn't about a final goodbye. You don't need privacy for that. It was an opportunity, a chance to get Mom alone, weak, confused. And then the final piece clicked into place. The most damning one, Jenna on the living room floor, surrounded by Mom's old papers, that passport, those letters. She wasn't feeling nostalgic. She wasn't cherishing memories. She was practicing. She was studying my mother's signature. I pulled my arm away from her. The touch felt like poison. I stared at the codicil on the desk. "I want to see it," I said. My voice was flat, empty of all emotion. Mr. Henderson pushed it toward me. My hand was shaking as I picked it up. I turned to the last page. There were 3 signatures, 2 witnesses, a hospice nurse, a neighbor, and at the bottom, my mother's name, Mary Ann Thompson. It looked like her signature. The shape was right. The letters were all there, but it felt wrong. It was a ghost, a hollow echo of her strong, confident hand. There was a hesitation to it, a tremor. "Her signature changed," Jenna said quickly, too quickly. "The medication made her hands shake. You know that, Mark." I didn't say anything. I just stared at the name on the page. The name of the woman who raised me. The woman whose core belief was fairness, twisted into a cruel joke. Jenna was already making plans. Her fake grief had vanished, replaced by a brisk, business-like tone. "I'll need to get the keys from you, Mark. I have some things in storage in LA. I'd like to start moving them in this week." My head snapped up. "This week?" "Well, there's no point in letting the house sit empty," she said. She gave me a tight, pitying smile, as if I were a child who didn't understand. "It'll be good for me, to be in her space, to feel her spirit." I felt bile rise in my throat. Her spirit. She was talking about turning our mother's home into a crash pad, a trophy she had won. I stood up. The chair scraped loudly against the floor. "I have to go." "Mark, wait," Jenna started. "I'll have my lawyer contact you, Mr. Henderson," I said, not looking at my sister. I walked out of the office. I didn't look back. I felt her eyes on me. I felt her victory. It was suffocating. The drive home was a blur. My grief was gone. It had been burned away by a white-hot rage. Every memory of Jenna's visit was now tainted. Every concerned word she spoke was a lie. Every hug was a betrayal. She hadn't come to say goodbye to our mother. She had come to rob her, and she had come to rob me. I got back to my apartment. I walked straight to the closet. I pulled down a cardboard box. It was filled with the few things I had taken from Mom's house. The things that mattered to me. Photos, a few of her favorite books, and a stack of old birthday cards. I dumped the cards on my coffee table. A lifetime of memories. From my 5th birthday to my 40th. I spread them out. Then I sat down at my computer. I pulled up the scanned copy of the codicil Mr. Henderson had emailed me. I put them side by side. The screen's cold light next to the warm, faded cardstock. I looked at the signature on the will. Then I looked at 30 years of my mother's love written in ink. My heart started hammering against my ribs. It was so obvious, so painfully obvious once you looked. Mom's signature was her. It was sharp, confident. She had a very specific way of writing Mary Ann Thompson. The M in Mary was always a series of sharp, decisive peaks, like a mountain range. The A in Ann always connected to the T in Thompson. It was a long, sweeping flourish, a signature of her personality. I looked at the codicil. The M was soft, rounded, hesitant. The flourish was gone. In its place was a tiny, awkward gap, a dead space between the names. It wasn't the signature of a woman weakened by illness. It wasn't shaky. It was careful. The signature of someone drawing something they've seen. Someone trying very, very hard to copy an original, and failing. Jenna's face flashed in my mind, sitting on the floor, studying that passport. "It was so beautiful, wasn't it?" she had said. She had practiced. She had waited. She had used our mother's final days as a cover. She had forged her name. She had stolen our home. She had spat on our mother's memory. All for a house and some money. The rage in my chest cooled. It settled into something harder, colder, something solid and heavy. It wasn't grief anymore. It was resolve. She thought she had won. She thought I would just roll over, defeated by grief. She thought she was smarter than me. She was wrong. This wasn't over. It was just beginning. I would not let this stand. I would fight for my mother. I would get justice, no matter what it took.
The first call I made wasn't to Jenna. It wasn't to a lawyer. It was to my bank. I took out a personal loan. Enough to hurt. Enough to make this real. Every dollar felt like a stone being laid in a foundation for the war I was about to wage. My second call was to a name I found after hours of research, Dr. Evelyn Reed, a forensic document examiner. Her website was stark, professional, no smiling photos, just case studies and credentials. Her voice on the phone was exactly what I needed. It was calm. It was detached. It was the voice of a scientist. I explained the situation. I didn't use emotional words. I didn't say, "My sister betrayed me." I just said, "I have reason to question the authenticity of a signature." "Send me what you have," she said. "High-resolution scans, the questioned document, and at least 20 known dated examples of the genuine signature." 20 examples. I had more than that. I spent the next week turning my apartment into a command center. I gathered every piece of paper my mother had ever signed. Old bank checks from the 90s, her driver's license, letters she wrote to her cousins, and the birthday cards. 30 years of them, my arsenal of love. I laid them all out on the floor. I photographed each one meticulously. I labeled them by date. The signature from 1995. The one from 2010, the last one she ever sent me. Each one was a piece of her. Each one was a bullet. While I worked, Jenna was busy building her new life. On social media, of course. You could watch her inheritance fantasy play out in real time. First, the U-Haul in the driveway. A smiling selfie. The caption read, "Making this house my home. Feeling Mom's spirit here with me. Hashtag new beginnings." It made my stomach turn. Then came the pictures of painters. She was changing the colors, erasing our mother. A week later, a new couch appeared. Then a new dining set, all of it sterile, all of it soulless. It looked like a furniture showroom, not a home. She was posting stories from inside a brand new Lexus, tagging the dealership. She was spending money she didn't have yet. She was so sure she had won. Let her. Let her get comfortable. Let her dig the hole deeper. She called me once during that time. Her voice was syrupy sweet. "Mark, honey, are you okay? I haven't heard from you." I had to clench my jaw to keep my voice steady. "Just dealing with things, Jenna." "I know it's hard," she said. The condescension dripped from every word. "Listen, I was wondering, do you know where Mom kept the key to the big file cabinet in the office?" Silence. I knew exactly where it was. It was for her financial records. For her stocks. "No," I lied, "I don't." "Oh," she said, a flicker of annoyance in her voice. "Okay. Well, I'll just have a locksmith come out. Let me know if you need anything. Don't be a stranger." She hung up. I stared at the phone. She wasn't just moving in, she was liquidating. She was cashing in our mother's life. 2 weeks later, an email landed in my inbox. The subject line was simple: "Read forensics, report attached." My hands shook as I clicked it open. It was a 20-page PDF, filled with magnified images, side-by-side comparisons, technical language, but the conclusion was simple and brutal. Dr. Reed pointed to the unnatural pen lifts, the hesitation marks, and the significant variation in baseline alignment, all consistent with a simulated forgery. The final sentence hit me like a physical blow, a blow of pure, cold vindication. "It is my professional opinion, with a degree of scientific certainty exceeding 99%, that the signature of Mary Ann Thompson on the codicil was not written by her." I had it. I had the proof. The rage I'd been suppressing was gone, replaced by a cold, sharp certainty. My next meeting was with a lawyer, a man named David Chen. He was a probate litigator, a bulldog. He read Dr. Reed's report in silence. He didn't look up once. When he was done, he closed the file. He looked me straight in the eye. "She didn't just forge a document," he said. "She committed a felony, and we are going to prove it." The plan was simple. We would let Jenna get comfortable. We would let probate move forward. And at the right moment, we would strike. David filed the petition to contest the will. The first shot was fired. Jenna's call came an hour later. Her number flashed on my screen. I let it ring 3 times. Then I answered. I didn't say anything. I just heard screaming. "How dare you? How dare you, Mark?" I held the phone away from my ear. "You're dragging Mom's name through the mud, all because you're greedy. You can't stand that she wanted to take care of me." I waited for her to run out of breath, for the hysteria to pause. When it did, I spoke. My voice was quiet. It was calm. "We'll let the court decide what Mom wanted, Jenna." I hung up. The court date was set. 3 months away. 3 months for her to live in that house. 3 months for her to spend that money. 3 months for her to build a life on a foundation of lies. She had no idea what was coming. She thought this was a dispute about money. She thought the worst that could happen was a smaller payday. She didn't realize this wasn't about the money anymore. It was about justice. It was about my mother's name. And I was going to let her walk right into the trap she had set for herself. All I had to do was wait. The waiting was the hardest part. 3 months of silence. 3 months of watching her live a lie. Then the day arrived. A crisp November morning. The sky was a flat, unforgiving gray. I saw her across the courthouse lobby. She was dressed in expensive black, a designer dress I'd never seen before. Her hair and makeup were perfect. She was playing the role of the grieving daughter, the victim. She shot me a look of pure contempt. I felt nothing. Just a cold, heavy calm in the pit of my stomach. We took our seats. The courtroom was quiet. Wood-paneled walls, the air thick with tension. Jenna sat beside her lawyer. She dabbed at her eyes with a tissue. A perfect, rehearsed gesture. Her lawyer went first. He was smooth. He painted a picture of a loving daughter, a doting mother in her final days. He argued that Mom's illness had changed her. The painkillers made her hands shake. Her signature was naturally different. It was plausible. You could see the judge considering it. Doubt is a powerful thing. Jenna even took the stand. She cried. She spoke about her deep connection with Mom, how Mom worried about her unstable career, how she wanted to provide a safety net. "This is what she wanted," Jenna sobbed. "My brother is he's lashing out in his grief. He's trying to hurt me." I watched the performance. I felt my lawyer, David, place a hand on my arm. A silent signal. "Be patient. Our turn is coming." Then it came. "The petitioner calls Dr. Evelyn Reed to the stand," David said. His voice echoed in the silent room. Jenna's head snapped up, a flicker of confusion on her face. She didn't know the name. She had no idea who was about to walk through that door. Dr. Reed was incredible. She was calm, professional. She spoke with an authority that commanded the room. David led her through her credentials, her decades of experience. Then he got to the point. Dr. Reed, did you examine the codicil in question? I did. And did you compare it to other known samples of Mary Ann Thompson's signature? Yes. Over 50 of them, spanning 30 years. David walked over to a large screen set up for the judge. Please, doctor, tell the court what you found. An image appeared on the screen. 2 signatures side by side, magnified 100 times. On the left, a signature from one of Mom's birthday cards. On the right, the signature from the forged codicil. You didn't need to be an expert to see it. The authentic signature is fluid, Dr. Reed explained, using a laser pointer. Notice the dynamic pressure. Lighter on the upstrokes, heavier on the down. This is written with confidence, with speed. She moved the pointer to the forgery. This is different. The pressure is unnaturally even. The curves are drawn slowly. You can see microscopic hesitation marks, here and here. The red dot landed on the soft, rounded M. This is indicative of someone drawing a letter they have studied, not writing a name they have known their entire life. Jenna was staring at the screen. The color was draining from her face. Her lawyer was shuffling papers, looking flustered. He hadn't prepared for this. David let the silence hang for a moment. Then he moved in for the kill. Dr. Reed, in your expert opinion, who signed this codicil? I can't say who did sign it, she said, her voice clear and steady. But I can tell you, with a scientific certainty exceeding 99%, who did not. She turned from the screen. She looked directly at the judge. Mary Ann Thompson did not sign that document. A gasp went through the courtroom. It was from Jenna. The mask of the grieving daughter was gone. All that was left was pure, unadulterated panic. But David wasn't done. The petitioner calls Nurse Sarah Jenkins. The hospice nurse walked to the stand. She looked nervous, but determined. David approached her gently. Nurse Jenkins, do you recognize this document? He showed her a copy of the codicil. Yes, I do. And is that your signature, as a witness? Yes, it is. Can you please tell the court the circumstances under which you signed it? The nurse took a deep breath. Jenna, Ms. Thompson. She brought it to me at the nurse's station. She said her mother was sleeping. She said her mom had already signed it and just needed a witness. Jenna shot up from her seat. She's lying. Order! The judge's voice boomed like a thunderclap. Sit down, Ms. Thompson, now. Jenna sank back into her chair, trembling. David continued. So, to be clear, Nurse Jenkins, did you ever, at any time, see Mary Ann Thompson sign this document? No, never. I never saw her with it at all. Next came the neighbor. He told the exact same story. Jenna approached him on his porch. Mom was resting. It was just some paperwork. He never saw my mother sign it. It was over. And you could see it on her face, the exact moment she knew. Her entire world, built on a single shaky signature, was crumbling around her. Her lawyer put his head in his hands. He had nothing. The judge didn't even retire to his chambers. He cleared his throat. The sound filled the room. He stared down at my sister. His face was granite. In the matter of the estate of Mary Ann Thompson, he began, this court finds the codicil, dated October 14th, to be a product of fraud and a clear act of forgery. Each word was a hammer blow. The codicil is hereby thrown out. The original last will and testament, stipulating a 50-50 division of all assets between the 2 children, is affirmed as the legal, binding document. Jenna made a small, choking sound. But the judge wasn't finished. He looked at me, then back at her. Furthermore, given the blatant attempt to defraud this court and her own family, the court orders that all of the petitioner's legal fees be paid in full from the respondent's share of the estate. That was it, the final twist of the knife. All the money she had spent, all the credit she had run up, it was all for nothing. Her inheritance was slashed in half, and now, my bills were her bills. Then came the final sentence, the one I never expected. "And this court," the judge said, his voice dropping to an icy calm, "is referring this case to the district attorney's office for investigation into criminal charges, forgery, and perjury." Criminal charges. Jenna's world didn't just collapse. It was obliterated. The house she was living in, she'd have to vacate it, immediately. We would have to sell it. The new Lexus, the furniture, all bought on the promise of money she no longer had. She was bankrupt, morally, and now, financially. She was facing prison time. She just sat there, a hollowed-out shell. The designer dress now looked like a costume. Her perfect makeup was ruined by real tears, tears of self-pity, tears of defeat. She looked at me one last time across the courtroom. There was no hatred left, just a vast, empty shock. The look of someone who gambled everything on a lie and lost it all. I walked out of that courtroom alone. There was no triumphant feeling, no fist pump, just a profound, heavy quiet. The fight was over. The silence that followed was deafening. Jenna tried to call me once. About a week later, it went to voicemail. I saw the notification pop up on my screen. Her name. For a second, I almost listened. But what was there to hear? More lies? More excuses? I pressed my thumb on the screen and held it. A small trash can icon appeared. I dragged her voice into it. And that was that. We sold the house. Strangers walked through the rooms where I grew up. They commented on the paint colors. They measured the windows for their own curtains. I let the real estate agent handle it all. I just signed the papers when he told me to. The district attorney did press charges. I wasn't involved. I didn't have to be. That was her path to walk now, not mine. I took my half of the estate, and I used it to create a small scholarship fund in my mother's name. For nursing students at the local community college, it felt right. It felt like something that truly honored her memory, not a fight over furniture and bank accounts. People sometimes ask if I regret it, if I regret losing my sister. The truth is, I had already lost her. I lost her the day she chose greed over family, the day she looked at our mother's legacy and saw only dollar signs. What happened in court wasn't the end of our relationship. It was just the funeral. Sometimes, late at night, I'll take out the box of my mom's things. I pull out the stack of old birthday cards. I spread them across my coffee table. I run my thumb over her signature. The real one. The sharp, confident peak of the M. The long, sweeping flourish connecting her name. It's perfect. And it's hers.